Okay, guys, are y'all ready to get started? So, a few things that were not on the list: a pencil, probably have that at home, water, cup of water. You might want a few of those because they get kind of murky. Mine's already a little murky, just from playing around with stuff, and paper towels if you can find them. Let's see, but you should have your mop brush and your round brush, the little set of three. Your palette knife, your colors, your paint colors, and if you chose to go and get other colors that are going to look better, it's totally good. I love it. You need, these are two different things. So you have your metal leaf adhesive and sealer. So you're going to need both of those for metal leafing. Of course, your metal leaf and that package of plastic palette knives, which is for the metal leafing. These are disposable. Like, you don't want to have to clean up that glue. It doesn't come off. Okay, so let's get started. So first, we're going to use our pencil, and we are going to make an imaginary tic-tac-toe board on our canvas. What we're doing is we're dividing it into thirds. I don't know if you've ever heard that, but I like to kind of work in thirds. It kind of draws your eyes into the correct focal points, but we'll go over that later. But what you need to do, you can use a ruler if you want to measure, but I just eyeball it. So what I'm trying to do is divide it into 3 equal spaces. So I just kind of really eyeball it, and I'm thinking right about there and right about there. And these are going to be imaginary lines. They're not, we're not going to like draw with pencil all over the canvas. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of give me a little scribble here and a little scribble right there where I thought the other was. And then I'm going to divide this part into 3 equal spaces. So 1, 2, 3. And I'm just eyeballing it too. And then I'm going to give myself a little pencil mark here, a little pencil mark there. And so we have to do that with this side as well. So those in there. And then the bottom. So you need your 3 equal spaces. Okay, and so your tic-tac-toe board would be these lines connecting here and these lines connecting here. And so where these intersect is where I want you to put another little marker. So these are kind of, you're going to keep these in your head. They're going to get covered up, but they'll be good to have for definitely your base layers. So when we start blocking in the color. So I'm just going to kind of give myself kind of an imaginary spot of where these two would meet. I'm going to give myself a little scribble. And then the same with these. It's going to be right in there. This doesn't have to be perfect, nowhere near perfect. It's just kind of some guidelines to start thinking about. Okay, so next is gold leafing. We're going to start right away with that. So I'm using gold and silver. You're going to need your adhesive, and this is the palette knife that I like to use. It's disposable. You're going to want to throw it away after we're finished with this. They're so cheap, so that's a good thing. But you can't really clean that stuff off. It just, I don't know what kind of solvent you would need, but it's a pain. So one thing I do want to talk about with this is you don't want to get it on your hands at all. You just want to be really careful where the glue ends up. You just want to, we're going to just put it on here. I'll show you that in a minute. And we're going to really smooth it on with this, but just be careful for your fingertips. You never want to touch it because our next step is the gold leaf, and it's so airy and light. It sticks super well to this. Like, it's not going to go anywhere. So if you get it on your hands, you get it in your hair, then you can't even work with the gold leaf because you have to smooth it out. You have to use your hands, and if your hands have sticky on it, it's going to be lifting it up, making a mess. So if that makes sense, try to keep this only on here, and you'll have better luck. That's why I don't put it on a plate. I just like to keep it as in the least amount of places as possible, if that makes sense. But how I start is I don't even worry about this lid. I just take the whole lid off, and so it's open, and I'm gonna just put it directly on here, super, super carefully. I don't put it on a plate because then that's more places for it to end up and get sticky. I'm gonna place the glue right on this, and I'll show you about how much I use. It's kind of like toothpaste. I just kind of put a line of it, just like that, on. I'm gonna try to work in this area so you can see. So you just smooth it on like that. Is it showing up? I think it is. Just a light. So you smooth it on, but this much is way too thick. You don't want it that thick. So you use the edge and you scrape off the excess. Does that make sense? So everywhere you put this, you're gonna want it to be this thin. You're not gonna want any spots that have kind of a lifted area, like a bubble or too much. Like everything needs to be that smooth. So now I have more on here, and so I'm gonna move down just a little bit and spread some more on here. And I just spread it on flat, but then I use the edge to lift it back up. And so on the edges, there might be globs where there's more. Just keep spreading it and lift up so that there's not any spots that has a lifted edge or kind of a bead like that. On the canvas, you want everything super, super smooth and super, super thin. That's really important. You just open it up and you have a piece. You just get it out and see if your hands had any of the glue on them, you wouldn't be able to let go of it. So if your hands are clean, you're in good shape. Okay, so now we are just going to place this on. Let me move the camera. Yes. So we're just going to place this over that area, and it will stick like in one place. And then you kind of work from the middle and just kind of push outward to where it covers all of the sticky part. So be careful if you are spreading and you spread off. There could be glue right there, and then it's on your fingers, and then you're in a mess. So just be careful. Keep your fingers on the gold leaf. Don't touch the canvas because you just might have some glue on the canvas. So you just press pretty lightly. You don't want to like scratch the gold leaf or anything. So you just press, and then you're gonna just kind of lift up. And you don't have to hang on to all the little pieces. Some people do, I don't know. I go through it pretty quick. So you just take off the excess. And so with each spot, you're gonna leave it like this. You don't need to worry that it's perfect. We'll get all of the gold leaf on the canvas, and then we'll come back with a brush and we'll dust off this excess. But for now, in order to keep your hands really clean, it's just best to just kind of get it in place all over the canvas and then work from there. Okay, so I'm giving you kind of the canvas from a better angle here. These are the 4 points of the tic-tac-toe, so kind of the intersection points that kind of divided it into thirds. So now I'm going to go through using the techniques that I showed you each time, where I'm going to put each piece of gold using those same techniques. Oh, my cat. Hey, what'd you see? Want to say hi? So I'm going to put it on a time lapse so that you don't have to sit and watch me do all of them. But I'm going to get it covered. Remember how I talked about kind of the circle and the golden mean, and how your eye kind of enters on the left side of something and then it kind of circles around and then to a focal point. So I'm going to kind of be mindfully placing all of those in spots that kind of guides your eye around. So starting big on one side, your left side, I'm going to start with more, and then I'm going to get to where I do a little bit less, and then it kind of ends in a spot that's kind of your end of the golden mean ratio, kind of that focal point. It just kind of keeps your eye in and keeps your eye moving. silver. It doesn't look like anything that great right now, I know. This is just kind of the stages of it. Just the main thing is making sure everything is smooth. I left the little four corners so you could kind of tell. If you want to screenshot it and do it exactly like this, you could screenshot it and know exactly where to put yours. There's going to be color that brings this flow around and makes it really pleasing to the eye. But that is where we are right now. Next step is to seal the gold leaf. So I'm going to use the sealer, the metal leaf sealer, and I'm going to do exactly like I did the other. I'm just going to take the entire lid off. And so I'm just going to use a paper towel. I have just a paper towel, and I'm just going to kind of blot a little bit on the paper towel to where it's just kind of wet. You can use a cotton ball, but I just put some on the paper towel, and I'm just going to blot on top of the gold leaf. You don't need to go real close to the edges with this this sealer. You just kind of stay right in the middle because the edges are going to be sealed with paint. So you really don't want to get it too far outside the edges. Okay, so we're going to start painting. I'm going to start with the French linen color. So this, if you're using different colors, this is one of your medium tones. It's not your darkest and it's not your lightest. So if you have a little bit different color palette, the two background colors that we're going to cover pretty much everything with are your medium tones. They'd be right in the middle of all of your colors, if that helps. But what we are going to do is do washes on the background. The bottom layer is very thin. I'm going to show you how to do a wash. You use a little bit of water and a little bit of paint, and you do almost like watercolor. I don't know if any of you have ever done watercolor, but it's very much like that. And we're going to be going around the gold leaf. You know, if you get on it, it's okay, it'll wipe off, but we're going to go around. But yeah, I'm going to show you the difference in a wash and kind of an opaque stroke so that you kind of know the difference before we get started. Now we're going to do a wash. So you're going to need a little bit of a paper towel and your largest brush of the set of 3. This isn't your mop brush or the big round brush. You're going to need your water and your medium color French linen, the name? Yeah, French linen paint. So what you're gonna do is you are gonna saturate your brush, but I want you to knock off most of the water, just like that. And so you've got quite a bit, it's still kind of dripping. And then you take your paper towel and you just kind of blot off just a little bit more. So your brush is pretty wet. It's not, I don't know how wet, but about that wet. So what you do is you dip the end, just the end, in your paint. And what you're gonna do is when you're doing a wash, you can hold your brush like a pencil because you're gonna kind of scrub. So you're just putting paint on, but you're almost scrubbing the excess back off. So that is a wash. And you can soften the edges by lifting up, pushing down and lifting up. And that'll blow out the edges and kind of soften the edges. But that's a wash. And so you know it's a wash if you've got water and you can kind of lift the paint back up. You can see the canvas behind it. But we want this layer to be really breathable, if that makes sense. A thick layer, you know, would be like a lot of paint, like that. But we're definitely just going for the wash. So even if you put quite a bit of paint in a spot, you can come back with and dip like in your water. You can get it wet again. And you can kind of scrub over that area and turn it into a wash and then spread it around and down. So let's do our French linen wash. So I'm going to wet my brush, tap it out a little bit, and get some paint just loaded up right there on the end. And I am going to start right up here in this top half, and I'm going to put a wash over pretty much this whole area. So I'm just going to scrub that in pretty quick. I'm going to go around all of the gold leaf and the silver leaf. You can go right up to the edge of it, really. And it doesn't have to be perfect, just as long as it's not opaque. Like you're not covering everything with paint. It's something that you can still see the canvas breathing. You kind of scrub it, and then you definitely know that you're making it kind of a wash. I like to leave brush strokes, some texture on these bottom layers. It adds interest. Sometimes you just kind of, you'll end up finding some interest that you didn't even kind of plan for, just in the way that you scrub it on at this stage. So if it starts getting too dry, where it feels like it's covering too much, you can add a little bit more water to your brush. And just scrub it around. Kind of do your brush all different directions if you want. You can make it super smooth if that's what you think you want to do. Or you can leave interesting strokes. Okay, I'm going to come right through the middle. I'm going around the silver that I have right here. And it doesn't look good right now. I promise it's not going to look good for a while. Some of my paint is going on a little bit thicker in some places, and I like that, but you can smooth it out if you want. Leave it all really smooth, or you can kind of give it a little bit different interest. But I'm going right up next to the gold, right up next to my silver. Just make sure that I have a good watery bit of paint in that area. I'm leaving some strokes here and there. You'll want to go on the edges. You'll want to take it down and make sure you get your edges with this color. While you're here, I'm just gonna barely put it on my edges because I can go back pretty easily and know which colors to put where on the edges, but I think it would be a good idea for you to go ahead and wrap your edges with the paint colors that we're using right now, the edges up top and on the sides. Through the middle. You're not going to see a lot of this layer, especially in pictures or from where you are on my painting, but in real life, all these different layers really give it depth and dimension and a lot of interest, especially like how we're working right now on video. You're not going to see a lot of the depth in my painting, but you're going to see it in yours. We're going to have different tones of all these colors in different places, and what you want to be mindful of is you don't want to blend them all together. We want to just really, we'll have kind of times where I say, okay, let's mix this paint with like maybe 50% of your lightest color, and we'll have some different strokes that are totally different tones of the same colors, if that makes sense. But that's what gives it a lot of depth and dimension. Let's see, where else do I need to go? Okay, I do want to go down. So here is my intersection. So here are my 4 points. I am going to come down and kind of plug in this square. I'm going around the gold leaf, cutting right in here in between all these, overlapping over the gold just a little bit. I am going to tie these together just a little bit with some strokes, water and my paint color. These are still just washes, but I'm going to kind of connect these a little bit. And I'm not going down really in this last square. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So square 7, I'm kind of staying out of with this color. I'm going in between, kind of on top of these golds and silvers, but just kind of around them. And then I'm just kind of feathering towards the middle. Not a whole lot going on in the middle with this color. You might want to look at it and see what it's looking like down there, but I'm not looking at it. So I have kind of an angle that goes across this box and this box, and they kind of connect it. So right through here, it just kind of trails. Even up in this box here, I've got a little space that doesn't have any paint right there. So just kind of a trail that way, and everything up here is kind of covered. So we've kind of got our movement going right about like this, okay? So now I'm just gonna do one more little spot of this color in this box. So it's gonna be the top right corner, and I'm gonna pull it down kind of at an angle to where it kind of hits, kind of goes in a motion that way. So wash out your brush really good. We are gonna do a second wash with the Restore color. So this is kind of your brownish color. In the picture it doesn't look very gray, but this is kind of a gray, and this is going to add a warmer color. So this painting has a lot of warms and cools. I love the contrast of warms and cools. So we're going to start with this one, and we're going to do another wash. This wash is going to fill in all of these empty places, and I'm going to kind of show you how to do this down here, how to tie it. So we kind of faded off as we went this way, and we're going to kind of come upward and fade upward with this color, if that makes sense. This center is not going to have a whole lot of this warmth. We're going to kind of leave that center open for now. So now I'm going to re-wet it so that we're doing washes, and then I'm going to use that Restore color. So this color goes on a little thicker than this gray, so kind of be careful, but you know, keep it a wash for now. So what we are going to do, let's start in this corner. I thought about having you turn it over, which actually I think that is what I'm going to do. So I'm going to have you turn the painting over for this step. So turn it upside down. I am going to set it on the floor to work. See if you can see this area. So I've got water and the Restore color, the brown, and I'm just going to start right up here and do this wash. You're going to want to do your edges. This is really watery because I wanted to do it pretty thin with this color, so you can see it kind of dripping, but I can go back and catch them like that. I just want this color to be really, really thin. So try to use that, what's on your brush, and kind of work your way down. Now I'm going to use my towel and I'm going to blot it off. Since it was dripping so much, I got a lot of water on there, so I'm going to kind of blot that off. And I'm going to come back and just kind of try to move what's already on the canvas. Okay, now I'm going to come over to this side and do the same thing. These are just layers. I'm going to turn it back over now and show you what we've got going on with the composition. So this is what it's looking like so far. We've got mainly gray. So gray kind of does this, and then our warmer color is just right here on the edges. This edge and this edge. So warm colors and then your gray. Okay, so here is where we are. We just have two colors done in washes. Everything kind of goes right up to the edges of the gold. So now that you see it close up, you see how watery it looks. You can see the canvas behind it. It's pretty messy. It kind of goes right over the edges of your gold leaf. I know it doesn't look good right now, but trust me, we're coming along. But just want you to know that, you know, yours looks great. If this is where you are, it's where you should be. We are going to do a wash with the Relic color. So this is a really dark color. This is your darkest color, but we are going to do it in a wash. So it's going to be really translucent and actually kind of light, but it's going to start adding the depth. A little wet like we practiced before, so it's actually kind of dripping a little bit. Blot it off a little bit. So you've got about equal parts paint and water. So here, so this is where I want you to kind of pay attention to your intersections. With this color, I want you to barely stay over the intersection, your bottom two intersections. So we are going to kind of just stay right here in this area and a little bit in this area, and then we're going to do a little bit right here. So as you can see, we're still working our way around, but let's see. If you hold your paintbrush, this is a darker color, so it's kind of scary. Kind of hold your paintbrush right in here, and I'm just kind of placing a little bit in these places. Here's my little intersection spot. I'm just going to barely come down, and I'm just barely hugging kind of that area right under the gold and the silver there. And you can kind of go on top of it, and then just kind of really lightly lift as you drag it down. Take all the paint off. Use a little water to get off. I probably need another towel so I can show you kind of how clean I'm letting it get. So here is clean. It may have a tiny bit of paint in it, but really not much. So I'm going to get some water, and I'm going to start kind of working right underneath that and kind of pulling what's already there down. But I'm not ever going to touch all the way back up, and I'm just barely touching the edges and pulling down. And then I lift up as I get down here. So you kind of push and lift away. Okay, so now we're going to use the Castle color. It's a really pretty one. I like this color. And we are just doing washes again. So my brush is clean. It was damp. And then I just kind of got a little bit. You can put it on a plate if you want. I'm just used to doing it like this. Now we are going to use that color, and we are going to kind of fill in just a little bit of this area right here. So here's where we are at the stage. Still doesn't look great. These are just the under layers. So if yours looks anything like this, you're on the right track. And you get to use the big fun brush. And then once we do this step, it's going to need a little bit of time to dry, maybe 30 minutes or so before you do the next layers. But I will be stopping this evening. I don't know if that will go all the way down in there. No, you're going to have to put a little bit of this on a plate. This is the French linen. We're going back to that color. You want to dump a little bit on a plate. I'm going to do that now. So it's not going to take a whole probably about this much on your palette or your plate, paper plates work, whatever. And you're just gonna put the end, dip the end in it, so we have quite a bit of coverage. So it's about like that. I don't know if you can see that. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna do big strokes. These aren't gonna be washes. These are full coverage of paint. And so what we're gonna do here is we're gonna fill in just a few of these empty spots. So we've got kind of an empty spot right through here. And I'm just gonna push it down and lift it up. Push it down and lift it up. Hey guys, so I'm back. It's a new day. Sun is shining. That's really good. We are going to start with our cream color, which is Whisper, and our mop brush. And all you do is you just tap it right in the top, and you'll have kind of a blob, like right on top of your brush. My brush was dry. And what we're going to do today is we're going to put a layer that's kind of on top, not on top, but above the layer that we did yesterday evening, this dark gray layer. So we're gonna work this color on top of it, and we're gonna do it like we did with the strokes. We're just gonna kind of press and pull. So I'll show you. So a little bit on your brush, and you're gonna have to redip a few times. So let's see if you can see. Why don't I start like up here? So these strokes are going to be about as long as these gray strokes were. They're just going to be placed above the gray strokes, and I want the end of it to tail in, kind of have a tail over the gray. I don't know if you'd call it a tail or like a feathering motion, like just right on top of the gray. And you're going to put this on pretty thick. And then we're gonna let it dry. So if you have time to do this and then walk away from it for a little while, that would be good. So I'm gonna start up here because it looks like that's kind of the easiest place for you to see. Let's see. So I think you can see that. So I'm just kind of, and make some of them big and some of them small. So you don't want them all like, see how I did 2 big ones and a little one? You want to see kind of some of this canvas behind things. You always want to leave spaces for things that we've already done to be behind. You don't want to totally cover up what you've done, but we are layering. So these are the top layers coming in. And you can kind of do at different places, like kind of that I'm going up higher, this one not so high. You can kind of cut in on top like that. That makes sense. And we're going to follow that gray all around. This one lands on some silver. So I'm just kind of doing this right on top of those. I'll kind of guide you through this area. I kind of want to put a little spot right here in between the gold and the gray right there. So that it looks like that. I'm going to touch on this edge just barely because it kind of lands right there on top of the little blob of silver right here. And then I'm going to work over here, just like that. And I'm going to kind of come right over here. And then maybe just put a few do right there in between. Now, let's see, I'm gonna work on this row. So there's kind of a gap of space where we don't have anything going on. This is gonna kind of fill in that gap, but not completely. I'm gonna set mine down, my brush hairs. When your brushes are new, they kind of have little hairs that come off of them and they end up in your painting. Don't worry about them if they are in your painting right now. After everything's dry, you can get tweezers and you can kind of pull them out if you want to. Brush bristles don't bother me in a painting, but don't like mess up your painting over trying to get each one out right now. Just keep moving. Okay, so I'm gonna start in this area right here. I'm just gonna kind of do that. I kind of went up and down. I'm just kind of filling in that space. But I don't want to cover everything that I put behind it by any means. And whenever you get next to some gold leaf, just kind of be mindful and go right up over the edge of it. You can make it kind of wiggly, kind of rough. Just make sure you're kind of going right up over it because that's a little part that's probably complete and ready to go. Okay, but don't overwork. You're going to see a lot of texture in these brush strokes. Don't put it on too terribly thick, but this does have buildup. These are not washes anymore. So now I'm going to kind of work on the other side of this piece of gold leaf. I'm going to cut in because there was a perfect spot to kind of just have some cream kind of cut in there. I'm even going to just kind of barely touch on the top of it. Just a little bit right there. I think you can see that. I'm maybe in the light. So now I'm going to keep working my way up. Okay, now we've got some more gray here, and so I want you to go over the third. So you're right in the middle third, and now once you go over that third, I want you to kind of go up just a hair. Bring this cream line up just a hair. So see how that kind of came back up a little bit right there. Now we're going to work kind of in this area. And don't overanalyze it or get too picky right now. It's all about layers. I don't want you to get afraid or give up because it's on the right track. It's looking really good. I know yours have to be too. So, we need to come up here a little bit more. I'm going to put a few, not as many, right here. Just kind of keeping it a little bit darker over here by letting a lot more of the background show through, so I didn't put nearly as many, and they were a little bit lighter right through here. Okay, so now we are going to work our way up here. I'm going to have you start at the top. So we've kind of got this empty space coming right here. I am just going to start with a nice blob right through there. Kind of fill in that space. Now I'm going to come down and give these a few nice spots right over here. So I've still got a little bit of an area here that doesn't have any paint. I'm just kind of keeping my composition in mind. There we go. Keep working our way through this little bit trickier part. So here I've got some places that I can see a lot of the canvas through. There's washes, there's a bunch of different things going on, especially with the gold leaf. Anywhere you see an edge of gold leaf that looks like it needs a little bit more of a layer on it, because these are our background layers, these are our top layers, you're gonna wanna start working your way around this gold and just kind of be mindful. Like, I know right here I don't have a lot going on, and that gold leaf could use a finished edge around it. So I'm just going to do that right there beside it. I'm going to kind of come on top of it a little bit and kind of call that complete. And I'm not going to overwork it. I'm going to dip again. And I'm going to do the same on this side, but I don't want to cover up this. This is getting really interesting right here. I'm just going to give it a little pop, a little highlight right there. And so then I came back through the middle between these two pieces of gold leaf, just kind of really carefully kind of choose places to put it around the gold leaf in this area, if that makes sense. So I think I need some over here because the edge of this gold leaf could use a little bit more texture. The bottoms of these. Okay. Now this is kind of an angle just right through here. I'm going to soften this curve up with a little bit of this. It'll draw your eye kind of in a little bit more of a softer curve right here. I'm going to put some here, some here. Then I'm going to kind of come back in. I think I'm going to call that done. I love that. And we are getting very close. So be sure you wash this brush out. Don't let this one dry up. We're gonna need it again. And I think that's it. Yeah, let this layer dry for a little while. It might take 30 minutes, an hour, I'm not sure, but it's really dry here in Colorado. So where you are, I'm not real sure, but it should dry pretty quick. Just remember, don't overpaint. Don't keep going. Take breaks, step back, look at what you've done, because sometimes whenever you just keep going and you're close up to it for a long time, you're not seeing the big picture. So just try to step away and look at it as much as you can. But yeah, right now I think just kind of let it chill for a little while. Okay, so really quick, we are going to mix another color and put another layer on with your mop brush. So this is Cottage White, and I'm using just a little canvas surface to mix this color on, but you can use a paper plate or whatever. But go ahead and put most of the paint that comes out. Go ahead and put it on your plate. I didn't put all of it. It's about that much, kind of just. It's probably half of the tube, I bet. So after you have that color mixed, you're going to use your mop brush, and you're just going to kind of do exactly like you did before. Load it up with about that much. I just tapped in there. And we are going to start in this upper right corner. And I'm going to fill in little area here. Now I'm going to really carefully just kind of select a few places to kind of cut a little bit more of this in. I'm going to kind of give it a few strokes right in here, a few right here, just kind of randomly, a little bit over here on this side. Okay, and I think I'm going to stop there. Actually, as I look at it in the camera, it kind of needs a little bit of a break right in here too. Okay, and I am going to call it quits with that color. That is our brightest color. That's the color that's gonna really give it dimension and pull it forward. We've still got a few more layers to go though. This is your French linen. Grab the French linen And I want you to get a pretty good heaping amount. And you're gonna add it to the leftovers that you had from that light color that we just used. So it might take about 2 of these heaping amounts to add to it. So I'm just gonna mix it right in there with that. I'm gonna get one more heaping spoonful. You wanna change this tone pretty well, but I still don't want it to be quite as dark as the original linen. So I'm gonna add another heaping palette full. So it's going to give me another tone. Another tone of the same colors we've been working with, which is what gives it the depth and makes it super interesting. So really mix that up. Okay. We are going to add this to the bottom part that we didn't venture into with our really light white color there. So this is going to go in more of the bottom half. So just load the end of your brush up, and it's going to go right on top of this and all under here. So really lightly gonna just kind of give it a few touches right here and just kind of pull some of those colors down and a little further. But not covering up everything that's down there because that's really interesting and pretty. Okay. In this picture, that looks a lot lighter than it will look in real life while you're doing it. You should have another tone that's quite a bit darker than the white that's up here. So, okay, let's let that dry. Okay, so this is where we are. I'm gonna just kind of move it around so that you can kind of see and compare some of the strokes and the placement to what you're doing. And this is getting really close to complete, and you can quit at any time. I think this would be really pretty to sign and call it done right here. A really light, airy piece of work. I'm going to add a little bit more. We're going to go a little bit further on it if you would like to keep going. I'm going to add some more darks to it in just a few places that'll give it a few pops, but it will change the look from this really light and airy look that we have going on right now. So if you like this, you can stop here, sign it at the bottom, the top, wherever you want to, and it would be beautiful. You can always bring in a few more of your colors that we've been working with and kind of move things around where you think they need them. I kind of came back, I think I broke up some of this hard line that was coming this way, and I broke it up with that neutral color, just kind of filling in a little bit more down there. So I'm going to kind of keep it down there, and you can pause it if you need to. But yeah, so we'll keep going, and I'll do a few more steps with the black, and I'll get you to a place where I think is a really good spot to stop there, and then we're going to add the pop of color. Okay, so we are going to add the relic. I said black, but I meant relic. I just kind of summarize the colors sometimes. So we're going to take your darker color, your relic, and we are going to add a few pops that are kind of going to add another dimension. So if you want to put them in exactly the places I'm doing it, you're welcome to follow along. I will zoom in on it too and let you know, but I'm just going to kind of carefully start placing them. So I think it needs one right here. And it's just kind of a mark like that. And then I'm going to put one right here. I just want it to kind of go like that. And let's see, I've got one, I've kind of got it planned out a little bit. I'm going to do one right here. And you can always add more, but I think this is a good place that I would like to stop. You would sign it. I would sign it just like right across here. But I think it is at a really beautiful place right there. We were in Restoration Hardware the other day, and these are the only colors that I saw in 3 stories of shopping. Like, it's all home decor, couches and furniture, and I mean, just gorgeous things that I could never afford, but like, it's just amazing. And they didn't have any color anywhere. It was all these warm taupes and grays and charcoal grays and creams, and that was it. The whole store is crazy, but it was beautiful. Like, and this is just like something I think would go anywhere, really. So, okay, I will be back with some color pops. If you're ready to move to that, I'm actually gonna do this color that I told y'all about. It's vintage teal. Definitely you don't have to go further with these colors, but this is just going to give you an idea if you want to go with some blues in it. And then I'm definitely going to stop there. But if you wanted to, instead of this blue color, if you wanted to do a really cute pink, a really cute coral, an orange, you know, any color really. A green, I love like this hunter green right now. It's really pretty in decor. Blues, navy blues are always pretty mixed with these colors. You can go anywhere, but this is kind of a teal. It's called vintage teal. I just put a little bit on, you put it on a plate or whatever you have, and you just tap your brush. My brush was clean and kind of dry for the most part, and I am just gonna add it in quite a few places. It's gonna really change the look of this now. So if you want to go further, here we go. So I'm going to start in this area up here, and I'm going to kind of come down right here to here. So it's just going to be like kind of a, almost like a triangle area, and just kind of push in and then pull, just like that. Spot. So everything is kind of led your eye kind of around, and then that's just kind of that flow that I like. I'm just gonna put this right up against this. It's kind of right on top of it.